Welcome back, guys. Today we're going to talk about pretty privilege. Yes, this is a topic that is rampant on YouTube right now, so I just wanted to slide in and give my 5 cents. I know I haven't been here in a while, but I am back in full effect. I have videos about being fabulous in your 40s, nutrition, how I stay amazing, and all sorts of other great information for you guys. But before I talk about pretty privilege, remember to like, subscribe, and share my videos. No Makeup Needed is a beauty and lifestyle channel where I give you guys tips and tricks on how to be your most fabulous self, hopefully inspiring you to embrace your natural beauty without filters, fillers, Photoshop, or makeup. I think like a month ago or so, a young lady did a video on pretty privilege and why she doesn't have it and why it sucks that she doesn't have it. And since then, there's been a lot of responses to it. I've only seen a couple of the videos. I did see hers. And so it's interesting. Pretty is not a word that I grew up using. My family did not use words like beautiful and pretty, and we didn't get complimented on our looks. So I went out into the world just trying to grind and get a job. So I really didn't get into the whole pretty thing until like late in life, till I was like 17 or 18, right? And so for me, when people say pretty, I kind of like cringe. It's kind of like sexy for me. I'm like, ugh, right? But I know what she means. Conventionally pretty, like universally, like wherever you go, somebody will be interested, or they'll be really nice to you. And I know on a psychological level, people who have certain types of features, like symmetrical features, or I don't know. I'm not a psychiatrist, guys. If you are, let me know in the comments. It tends to be more appealing, like a younger face, or fuller face, or big eyes, or I don't know what it is, but I understand the difference between someone who is considered, attractive and somebody who is not. Now, a lot of people, who make these videos, I've been a little bit confused. I've been a little bit confused with people popping up making videos saying, I have pretty privilege. And I'm like, "Mm, oh no." My idea of attractive is so different than the average person's idea of what that is. And I'm going to go into a little bit why. So I started working as a professional model in my 20s, probably going towards my late 20s. So I was a late bloomer, but I looked very, very young. I'm almost 46, by the way. And so I grew up in the suburbs. I grew up with people who thought they were cute, the light skin or the mixed race, half breed girls who had loose curls and things like that. That was considered attractive when I grew up. I grew up in the 80s. And so that was considered attractive just because you had those, features, not because that your eyes were a nice shape or that you had a beautiful smile, or an electric personality, just because, like, being fair skinned with half straight hair just made you automatically, you're up, there you go, right? And so I grew up with that type of thing. Not that I participated in, I really didn't get it. But my point is, my vision of pretty or attractive is totally different because when I started working as a model, okay, the girls in the model business did not look like them suburban girls. Okay, they did not look like those suburban girls. Everybody was tall, everybody had legs from here to Texas, perfect teeth, amazing flawless skin, 24-inch waists. Being in the fashion industry gives you a different perspective on that. So my idea of what attractive is probably more along the lines of, Naomi Campbell, or people, like runway girls or girls that I worked with in the business, not the suburban girl who's just sitting on the porch with half straight hair and light skin and just thinks she's, you know, attractive or whatever that is. And so when I see these videos popping up and people are like, I have pretty privilege, I don't get it. And I don't mean that like in a disrespectful way. Like I don't get it.
Today's video, I am going to be talking about a subject that enters my mind a lot, unfortunately. And I wanted to speak about it honestly somewhere because I feel like it's not popular to address it honestly. The subject that I'm talking about, if you saw the title of this video, is pretty privilege. And for anybody who doesn't know, the concept of pretty privilege is that you basically get treated better in life the more attractive you are. I think I've always been aware that it's out there. I've always been aware that people, specifically women, can use their looks as currency as they move through a patriarchal society. They can use it to get better mates. They can use it to get better jobs. They can use it to get jobs that regular looking females, regular looking women, I hate that I said females, who do I think I am? Regular looking women could never get, like being a hostess at an upscale club or, things of that nature. It didn't really bother me until I got a little older and I started to take stock of different things that I didn't have in my life, which I think we do all the time. People compare themselves to other people. It happens. And I started to just think about all the things in my life that probably would have been a little bit easier if I had some pretty privilege. So I want to make something clear before I go forward. I am not at all saying in this video that I find myself unattractive. I actually think of myself as a okay looking person, and I can really dial it up, when necessary. Here, by the way, is a picture of me celebrating my most recent birthday. But pretty privilege is not something that you yourself can decide that you have, if that makes sense. Like a lot of privileges, it's something that society just gives you based on what the systems of society already are, like before you even got there. So no matter how confident I might be, no matter how much I might spend on a certain type of wig or a certain makeup application style, I'm never going to have pretty privilege. And it does bother me, and I wanted to be honest about it. First thing I want to talk about when it comes to pretty privilege is I want to talk about just the different things I noticed that really started to bother me that I'd never experienced just as a woman because I don't have pretty privilege. So I showed you guys that picture earlier of me on my birthday. And that picture is important to me because that picture kind of set off this whole idea of wanting to make this video. I never before really participated in any of the stereotypical rituals of going out and dressing up a certain way. And that's because I discovered at a really young age that when I'm at the club, I'm going to be paying for my own drinks. I was not the type of woman that men would fight over, that men would really even approach. So early in my life, I was like 22, 23, and for sure at 25, I decided I wasn't going to go out anymore. So all of my outings, all of my fun, like let's get together, all of those things happened at bars and pubs. A lot of the times places where I knew that nobody who I would be attracted to would be there. And I did that as a defense mechanism, right? I knew if I dress up and I go out to a certain place and I'm ignored, it's going to hurt my feelings. So I didn't want to do that. However, for this birthday, I decided, you know what? I've been watching YouTube tutorials for years. I'm going to lay a lace front wig. I'm going to do my brows. I'm going to get a dress off of Fashion Nova. I went to them and I got this gorgeous dress. I'm going to show here. Loved it. It fit the theme of my party, which was mermaid because I'm a Pisces. And yeah, I felt really pretty that night. And I remember walking into the restaurant just feeling like, and my friend even got me like a little crown. And I remember walking into the restaurant and just feeling like, okay, like if anybody is going to notice me, it's going to be tonight wearing this. I walked in and there was a group of guys sitting down at a table. All guys looked like they were single guys. You can never tell, but they were around my age, so mid-30s, early 30s. And I walked in and not a single person turned around to make eye contact with me. Nobody budged. I was looking kind of around the restaurant, like you feel really pretty. So you're kind of looking just to see if anybody's, all eyes on me, that kind of thing. And nobody's eyes were on me.
I've never used the term for myself. I just didn't grow up in that manner. And I think my thinking is totally different because When I think of this, now what I've been seeing in the videos, I'm going to get back to what I think of it in a minute, but what I've been seeing in the videos, people are like, well, what is pretty privilege, right? So this girl did the video, she's like, oh, men turn their heads when she walks in the room, or they can get, a guy to buy them drinks at the bar, they can get this, all of these kind of like tiny little things, that I couldn't care less about. I used to go to the club a lot in my 20s. And yeah, sometimes men did buy me and my friends drinks, and sometimes they didn't. And it wasn't a thought of mine. Like I didn't care. I also didn't care if I walked down the street and people broke their necks or fell off their bikes or crashed their cars. That didn't happen, by the way. Um, to look at me or anything like that. And I don't think this is happening to these people who are making videos about having pretty privilege.
Tell me you have pretty privilege without actually telling me that you have pretty privilege.
Oh, I have a story. So when I was 22, I randomly moved to LA with no plan, no clue where I was going to live, nothing. I get down there and I ask one of my girlfriends if she wants to hang out. So while we're hanging out, we get to chatting and she goes, hey, why don't you just live with me in the model house for the summer? And I didn't know what that was at the time, but all it is a mansion in the hills where models get to live there rent-free, and in exchange, they just have to go to clubs twice a week and look cute. That's it. They Uber you there, you look cute, you stand around usually, and then you go home.
Before they all figured out that I was gay, I never had to pay for my own tree. Like, if they just gave it to me. I didn't have to do anything for it. Like, they're like, here you go, don't worry about it. Like, okay.
I used to hang around the drag strip close to my hometown, and I would ask random guys to drive their supercars, and they would let me. When I wanted to be a stripper, I did not have to audition. I haven't paid for over half of my tattoos. For those of you who've been here a while, yes, that includes the tattoo. I've never been ID'd or denied a drink before. About a year and a half ago, my ex and I were both driving home from a date. We got pulled over and accused of racing. The cop that pulled him over tried to take him to jail. The cop that pulled me over told me I was too pretty to be out here racing, and I would be such a shame to see such a face go to waste.
Now, I know the privilege, whatever it is, right? And this is my thinking. My thinking is, okay, well, whatever privilege you have, it may not be looks, but use it to your advantage. Now, the girl who made the video that went viral, she linked all of the privileges to kind of like men, getting things from men, right? And because I grew up not really caring about the boys, probably because I'm a dad's girl and I got a lot of attention from him, so I didn't go out into the world looking for attention from men in that way. I couldn't care less if they bought me a drink, or I couldn't care. I was like, okay, let me buy my own, right? So when I think of privileges, some of these people, they're upset that they don't have it. They're like, oh my gosh, I'll never know what it's like to have somebody, beg me for my phone number. I'll never know what it's like to have this and that. I think it's kind of sad because they're missing out on all the other privileges that they have. There's so many privileges that people have. And some people have rich privilege. They're born into rich families, which gives them so much access in life. So much access, right? I grew up with girls like that who had a lot of money. And they had access. They can get any job they want. They can, their parents knew everybody. That's another privilege in itself, contacts and access. Thin privilege is another privilege, right? Sometimes you are smart and witty and can talk your way in and out of things. There's so many things in life that are so important. It's just a culmination of qualities that we all have. And then if you're so focused on like looking good or being good looking or having certain features, then you're really not using those other privileges that you have, right? So a lot of people are complaining that they're not pretty and that it's terrible. And at the same time, they're kind of downing the people who are, like, oh my gosh, you're so pretty, but you're probably stupid. And that's not the case all the time. Like, in fact, I haven't really seen that. All of the friends that I made when I was a full-time model were other model girls, right? And I was a model, as in I had a contract with a big agency. We didn't have Instagram, and nobody was flexing for free, taking pictures for free, just posting them. Like, we actually had contracts, and we were going to castings every day, and we were booking jobs. So when I got in that business, my whole mindset around looks and beauty, if you will, attractiveness, changed. Like, I wasn't thinking like, oh, that girl on the block with the long hair is pretty. I'm like, well, is she in a billboard? You know what I mean? You know, and so the people who are making these videos, they're sad because they're not considered pretty. And then they're making fun of the people who are getting what they are getting out of it, which seems just to be guy related. Like, oh, I'm getting drinks at the bar, I'm getting into the club. That's, for me, that's like embarrassing. Like, if you were really attractive, are you getting $1 million homes? Are people buying you a state? Are people flying you around the world? This is what I'm talking about. I'm talking on a bigger scale. I wouldn't use my looks to get somebody to buy me an $8 drink at the club. Why are you at the club? Are you not getting up for work the next day? Like, what do you do? Like, they seem like all these little silly little things. And I don't know. I've never been called unattractive. That is true. You may think I'm unattractive. Somebody else may think so. But in my life, I have never been called unattractive by anyone. Except for when I got on YouTube and people get mad at the things I say. Then they're like, you're ugly. I'm like, yeah, okay. Sure. But I don't know what that's like. But I kind of don't feel sorry for people who are like, oh my gosh, you don't know what it's like to be me, because they have so many other things going on that they haven't even, you know, put a spotlight on. They have more than looks. They have privileges in so many other ways. So it's just like, okay, I got this, but you got that. You know what I mean? And so it seems to be the pretty privilege, which I still don't get, because when I watch these videos, I mean, I apologize if this comes out rude. The people who are claiming to have this privilege, like the majority of them, I don't know. I'm like, okay, I don't know where you live. Well, you don't live in New York City, right? And New York City has an array of gorgeous, gorgeous women from all over, right? Not just like a big fish in a small pond. So that's number one. I don't get it. Number two, the people who are upset that they don't have it, right? And they're downplaying the ones who do. Like, oh my gosh, there was a video where a young lady, she's like, oh, well, I don't want to have it anyway. All people, the men just want to, be with you for sexual reasons and stuff. And, these girls have no brain and they're just worried about their looks, which is not true. I've hung out with the most beautiful women ever, and they were the nicest people. All my friends were other model girls. We met at castings, we met at the agency. Fabulous women, great personalities, warm, bubbly, like all that. None of them were vicious like people say they are. I remember some other girls saying that models are bitches. I was like, oh my gosh, who? I've yet to meet one. All the girls I met were fabulous, like absolutely fabulous. So that's something I think people put in their heads. You know what I mean? They build themselves up. Maybe it's a defense mechanism. I have no idea. So that's for the people who make fun of the pretty privilege. Maybe it's a defense because they grew up in opposition, right? For the ones who claim that they have so much pretty privilege, why are you just getting liquor at the bar? Like, that sounds absolutely nuts. If you're so beautiful, where are your contracts? That's how I thought. I thought, well, okay, if somebody's calling me beautiful, right? Oh my gosh, you're so beautiful. Give me some money for it, right? And I'm not talking about tricking. Give me some money, pay me. Where's my billboard? Where's my contracts? Where's my national commercials, which all of them I have? Show me how beautiful I am. This is why I'm thinking, when I thought about that, I'm like, well, where's their $1 million homes? Where's their estates? Where are their billionaire tycoon boyfriends? That all I keep hearing is that, Oh, I get in line at the checkout counter. Like I'm like, oh my gosh, it's so embarrassing. Like, just wait in line like everybody else. Is that the extent of what your pretty is? To get in line or whatever? Now, I'm not denying that there is a privilege to looking good. People do open the doors for you. And I mean that in a sense that you've access quicker. You know, you can get that job fast. You can get through the door. You can get away with a lot of things. You can be a little bit more of a bitch. I've seen women that are considered beautiful be a little sassy, and people just laugh it off like, "Oh, that's really cute." But if one that was unattractive did it, they'd be like, "Ill," like they would clown them, you know. So you do get away with a lot of things. I have no problem with anybody's privilege. I love privilege and I love to see people use it. Use your privileges. If you're considered beautiful, use it. Get your foot through the door. And then once you get through the door, blow up, show them what you got. Because I'm sure you're grinding. You should be grinding on the slick, because everybody, is going to think, well, she's pretty and dumb. Nah, surprise them. Roll up in there, and then they're like, oh my gosh, she's smart as hell. She can do X, Y, and Z, right? So use it. I have no qualms, is that the word? Against using privileges. I have never, and this is a fun fact, I've never gotten a job based on my resume. I don't even use the word pretty. I don't use the word beautiful really. I don't use I don't use the word sexy. I don't use that language. I like fly. I like fabulous. You know why? Because it incorporates other parts of you. That swag that you got, that magnetism, that just like whew, I love that. I have never gotten a job. I've never struggled to get a job in the fashion industry and on the corporate end. Never. I always walked in and they were like, "Oh my gosh, we should hang out." So I guess it was more of my magnetism than how they thought I looked or anything that got me, because everybody just thought I was cool and they wanted to hang out. It's like, "Oh my gosh, you look so good. You're so fast forward. Like you fit in here." And boom, there was the job. I never had a problem. And that's a privilege in itself. And I use that. I still use that. I have no issue with somebody using the privilege. If you're rich, use it. If you're considered attractive, use it. And once you get there, do something with it. When I got to work, I blew everybody's minds. Like, oh my gosh, where do we find her? You know what I mean? Like, I live up to my hype. When I booked the model jobs, I wasn't the most beautiful girl. I'm 5'7". They were 5'9", 5'10". I'm considered smaller for, the business. And I was always the shorter end girl, right? And so they could have booked anybody. There were people who were considered better looking than me, but I had everything. And when I showed up to work, honey, you got the shot? I'll do anything to get it. And everything came out amazing. Like, I made sure that I exceeded their expectations. That's the type of person that I am. So, people who are so worried about being pretty and things like that, there's so much more to it. There's so much more. And this is a fun fact that a lot of you guys may not know. In the model industry, your personality matters a lot. A lot. You guys may think it's looks, but you have no idea why we have castings. We have castings so you can go and they want to see, they want to talk to you. They ask you silly questions on castings. They're like, "What's your favorite movie?" They just want to see what your personality is. There was a casting where I had to sing and we had to like go around the room and make up stories. They just want to see if you're cool to work with. If they got to spend 10 hours with you and you're fucking boring as hell or you don't know what you're doing, there's so much more than looks to it. They want to know that you have something else in you, right? Some fire, some passion, something else. And so that's a big misconception actually about the modeling industry. Yes, no, you have to have a personality. It's not just like, oh, she's pretty so she got the job. You know how many pretty people don't get jobs? There were so many girls I know who were never getting booked. They were like, "Oh my gosh, I have so many auditions, I'm never getting the job," right? Because they show up and they're boring as hell, and I knew some of them. So use what you got. Use what you got. Any looks that I had that I still have, I use the hell out of them. I use the hell out of them, right? And then when I get what I want, I exceed the expectations. That's what I do. That's what I do. Oh, she's cute. I want, come on, yeah, we'll hire you. And then I blow shit up. They're like, oh my, what? Are you, we're so happy, you know? And calling the agency like, oh my gosh, she's amazing. Thank you so much. Can we book her for next? You know what I mean? Like, that's what I do in my life. So, whatever privileges you have, maybe you're not the prettiest person in the room. None of us are. I don't even worry about that. I never have. I never competed with people for looks because I have so much spark in here. I have other things that will carry, right? And as you get older, you know, in the blink of an eye, I'll be 50 years old. Like, I'm not competing with 20-year-olds and 19-year-olds and things of that nature. Along the way, you gain so many other amazing like qualities, and you have to you use all of them. You put them all together in a little pot, right? And if your looks can get you through this door, then you could pick up with your charm, and then you could pick up with your magnetism. You see what I'm saying, guys? So all these weird videos. Oh my gosh, I don't have pretty privilege. So what? So what? Are you rich? You got that money though. I bet you can get places that they can't get, right? I grew up as a black girl in the suburbs. I don't know what it's like to hear gunshots. I never grew up in the projects. My parents were never on welfare. That's a privilege in itself. It's a privilege in itself. I can walk around my neighborhood any time of the night, sit on the porch, lay in the grass in the backyard. You know, the friends had a pool or what. You know what I mean? The suburban life. That's such a privilege. I had a car as a teenager. I went to a nice all women's college. Privilege, honey. And I used the hell out of it. You know, wherever I go, there, oh, you went to so and so college. Yes, I did. I mean, I just blow it up like it's not a big deal. It's not a big deal to me, but oh, yes. I'm thinking, where can that get me? You know? Take all of your privilege. I feel sorry for people who grew up and they never had a boyfriend or never got asked to prom and this, that, and the other. No, I don't. I do not. Um, I got a lot of attention from boys, but they weren't breaking their necks. You know what I mean? Like, this is the truth. Like, even my model friends growing up, they were made fun of. People were like, ew, you're so skinny and ugly and this, that, and the other. Next thing you know, they're on the cover of Vogue, right? You know, they didn't have it like that either. People wasn't, you know, it wasn't like that. I had a good amount of boys following me around, but you know, you probably did too. You probably did too. And for those of you who have not, those individuals who have not, and they got made fun of and things like that, they had other privileges to tap into. You know what I mean? They had other things. So who the hell cares? Who cares about this stuff? Of course it exists. But so does everything else, you know? When you're well known, you get access to different things. There's all sorts of privileges, guys. I'm all about using everything you got. Use your charm, use your wit, use your beauty. And not just for men. Like, I do use what beauty I have for men. If they like it, okay, they like it. If they don't, I don't give a shit because they're not getting me no contract. See, I think bigger than, oh, I'm getting a drink at the club. Like, that sounds stupid. So you're wasting all your beauty on an $8 like beer? Like, why? For what? You know, if your beauty is so great, honey, get that $100,000 national commercial, right? Get some property. You know, these men should be pouring money out. They should be taking around the world. You should be getting the best jobs. You should be getting living it up. You know, if you're not, then obviously I don't know. We might have a little delusion going on. We might have a little delusion. So for me, I never thought in terms of somebody having pretty privilege. This is, you know, beauty does matter though. It does matter, and I love it. I've no jealousy towards anybody who is, you know, top notch, you know, with the baddest body and the most perfect skin and face and everything. Like, I have no envy for them. I love it. You know, I have no envy for the rich girl who's got the Porsche. I have no envy for, you know, the person who is so intelligent with a high IQ who gets all these things. I have no, you know, use everything you got. First of all, recognize what you got and then use it. And that's what I have to take away from all these weird videos. You know, some of these people aren't getting that much privilege. Trust me. I've seen their videos. I'm like, ooh, I don't know. But then again, I'm not a man, so men have, you know, I want to believe them, but you know, very difficult to believe. Secondly, you know, the people who are complaining that they don't have any. They have so many other things. I watch some videos and I'm like, oh, she's so fly. Like, sometimes you don't even recognize how fabulous you are. Like, are you kidding me? I would change my vocabulary as well. Those words aren't really part of my vocabulary. Like I said, I didn't grow up in a household like that. Nobody ever called us pretty and was like, oh, you're beautiful, like they do normal girls. We were always just taught to do what we were told and like do good in school and like get a job. So that's how I thought. I never thought about looks until I got out in front of other kids and then later on got into the fashion industry. I want you guys to use all of your privileges. Use them all. Blow up your own spot, right? And stop worrying about what you don't have, okay? Looks are very subjective. Like I said, I swear to you, out of all these videos I'm seeing, I am confused. Alright guys, as always, I'll see you in my next video. Bye.
I was not the type of woman that men would fight over, that men would really even approach. So early in my life, I was like 22, 23, and for sure at 25, I decided I wasn't going to go out anymore. So all of my outings, all of my fun, like let's get together, all of those things happened at bars and pubs. A lot of the times places where I knew that nobody who I would be attracted to would be there. And I did that as a defense mechanism, right? I knew if I dress up and I go out to a certain place and I'm ignored, it's going to hurt my feelings. So I didn't want to do that.